The gun was 3 inches from Bumpy Johnson's head. December 4th, 1947. The back room of the Cotton Club. Bumpy sat at his usual table, counting money from the week's numbers run. Raymond "Quick" Lewis stood behind him. Quick had been Bumpy's bodyguard for 6 years. Trusted, loyal, family, or so everyone thought. Quick's hand was steady as he raised the .38 revolver. His finger tightened on the trigger. The hammer pulled back with a soft click that only Bumpy heard. And in that fraction of a second before Quick fired, Bumpy Johnson smiled. Because he'd been waiting for this moment for 3 weeks. To understand what happened in that room, you need to understand how deep betrayal can run, and how a man like Bumpy Johnson could see it coming long before the gun was ever drawn. Raymond Lewis came to Harlem in 1938. He was 19 years old, fresh from North Carolina, running from a murder charge that wasn't his fault. A white man had tried to assault his sister. Raymond defended her. The white man died. The law called it murder. Raymond called it survival. Bumpy Johnson called it justice. When Raymond arrived in Harlem with nothing but the clothes on his back and a price on his head, it was Bumpy who gave him sanctuary. Bumpy who paid off the right people down south to make the charges disappear. Bumpy who taught him the game, showed him how to move in Harlem's underworld without getting swallowed by it. By 1941, Raymond Lewis was Bumpy's personal bodyguard. He stood behind Bumpy in every meeting, every negotiation, every potential confrontation. He was there when Bumpy faced down Dutch Schultz's crew in 1933. There when Bumpy negotiated territory with Lucky Luciano in 1936. There when the police tried to arrest Bumpy in 1944 and mysteriously decided to walk away. Quick earned his nickname because he was fast. Faster than anyone Bumpy had ever seen. He could draw and fire before most men could blink, and more importantly, he was loyal, or at least that's what 8 years of service suggested. But loyalty has a price, and sometimes that price is higher than gratitude. November 1947. The Italian families were making moves. Vito Genovese wanted Harlem. He'd been patient, waiting for the right moment, the right leverage. He found it in Raymond "Quick" Lewis. The approach was subtle. A captain from the Genovese family, Tony the Hammer Castellano, started showing up at the places Quick frequented. The bars where Quick drank on his nights off. The pool halls where Quick hustled. The restaurants where Quick ate. At first, it was just conversation. "How's Bumpy treating you? You've been with him a long time. Man like you should have his own operation by now." Then, it was money. An envelope left on Quick's table. $500. No strings, just respect. Then, it was a question. What would it take for you to walk away? And finally, it was an offer. Kill Bumpy Johnson. You get $50,000 and your own territory in East Harlem. You get to be a boss instead of muscle. Quick thought about it for exactly 4 days. Then he said yes. What Quick didn't know was that Bumpy Johnson had eyes everywhere, and one of those eyes was Tony Castellano's driver, a man named Marcus, who'd been on Bumpy's payroll since 1943. Marcus heard everything, every conversation, every offer, every plan, and he told Bumpy everything. November 15th, 1947. Bumpy sat in his apartment on 145th Street, listening to Marcus describe Quick's betrayal. Most men would have acted immediately, confronted Quick, killed him, made an example. Bumpy Johnson wasn't most men. Instead, he smiled. How much are they paying him? $50,000 plus territory. When's he supposed to do it? Soon as he gets the chance. They want it to look random. A robbery gone wrong. Bumpy leaned back in his chair, thinking. Don't tell anyone. Not Junie Bird. Not Willie Jackson. Nobody. Let Quick think his secret is safe. Boss, he's going to try to kill you. I know. And when he does, I'm going to teach the Italians something about loyalty they'll never forget. For 3 weeks, Bumpy acted like nothing was wrong. He kept Quick close. Trusted him with sensitive information. Brought him to important meetings. even increased his pay, saying Quick had earned it. Quick took the money and planned his murder. December 4th, 1947. Bumpy invited Quick to the Cotton Club for a private meeting. "Just you and me," Bumpy said. "Need to discuss something important." Quick saw his opportunity. A private room. No witnesses. He could make it look like a robbery. Bumpy kept thousands in cash in that back room. It would be believable. What Quick didn't see was Marcus in the hallway, or Junie Bird positioned outside the back door, or Willie Jackson watching from across the street. Bumpy had set the trap. Now he just had to spring it. 8:47 p.m. The Cotton Club's back room. Bumpy sat at the table, counting money. Stacks of bills arranged in neat piles. Quick stood behind him, exactly where a bodyguard should stand. Bumpy didn't turn around, didn't acknowledge Quick's presence, just kept counting. 7,300, 7,400, 7,500. Quick's hand moved to his waistband. The weight of the .38 revolver felt heavy. Final. "You know what I learned about loyalty, Quick?" Bumpy said suddenly, still not turning around. Quick's hand froze. "What's that, boss?" Real loyalty doesn't need to be bought. It's given freely. Or it's not loyalty at all. Bumpy turned then, looked Quick directly in the eyes. "You ever think about betraying me, Quick?" For a moment, Quick considered lying, considered putting the gun away and pretending everything was fine. But he'd already committed. The Italians were waiting for confirmation. $50,000 was waiting. "No, boss. Never." Bumpy smiled, that same cold smile he'd given Marcus 3 weeks ago. "That's good, because betrayal is the one thing I can't forgive." Quick pulled the gun, 3 inches from Bumpy's head, point-blank range, impossible to miss. Bumpy didn't move, didn't flinch, just looked at Quick with those cold, calculating eyes. "Do it," Bumpy said quietly. "Pull the trigger. Let's see if the Italian's money was worth it." Quick's finger tightened on the trigger. The hammer pulled back. The metallic click echoed in the silent room. And then Quick fired. The sound that followed wasn't a gunshot. It was a click. Empty. The gun was loaded with dummy rounds. Quick stared at the weapon in disbelief. Pulled the trigger again. Click again. Click. 5 times. 5 empty clicks. "Looking for these?" Bumpy reached into his pocket and pulled out 6 bullets. Real bullets, the ones that should have been in Quick's gun. Quick's face went white. The gun fell from his shaking hand and clattered on the floor. "You switched them," Quick whispered. 3 days ago, while you were sleeping. Marcus has a key to your apartment, courtesy of me." Bumpy stood up slowly. "You see, Quick, the problem with betrayal is that it requires you to be smarter than the person you're betraying, and you're not." The door opened. Junie Bird and Willie Jackson walked in. Quick tried to run, made it 2 steps before Willie's hand clamped down on his shoulder. "Sit," Bumpy ordered. Quick sat. His whole body was shaking. Tears were running down his face. "Bumpy, please. They offered me money. I was going to take care of my family." "By killing the man who saved your life, who kept you out of prison, who made you somebody in this city." Bumpy's voice was ice. "I gave you everything, Quick, and you sold me out for $50,000. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "You're sorry you failed. Not sorry you tried." Bumpy walked around the table until he was standing in front of Quick. "You know what the Italians don't understand. They think loyalty can be bought. They think everyone has a price. Maybe everyone does. But the difference between men like them and men like me is that I pay loyalty with loyalty. I protect my people. I elevate my people. I die for my people if necessary." He leaned down until he was eye to eye with Quick. "You had 6 years to see that. 6 years to understand that working for me wasn't just a job. It was family. And you threw it away for money you'll never spend." Quick was sobbing now. "What are you going to do to me?" Bumpy straightened up. "That depends. Marcus, come in here. Oh, Marcus walked into the room. Quick saw him and understood immediately. You were the leak. I was the insurance, Marcus said. Bumpy always has insurance. Bumpy pulled a chair up and sat across from Quick. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to do exactly what the Italians paid you to do. You're going to kill me. Quick looked confused. What? Tomorrow night, you're going to meet with Tony Castellano. You're going to tell him Bumpy Johnson is dead, shot in the back of the head during a robbery at the Cotton Club. You're going to describe it in detail. The blood, the shock, everything. Make it believable. Why? Because then Tony is going to arrange a meeting with Vito Genovese to celebrate, and when they do, I'm going to be there, very much alive. And I'm going to have a conversation with Vito about respect, boundaries, and what happens when you try to buy my people. Quick was starting to understand. You want me to set them up. I want you to earn back a fraction of the trust you destroyed. You do this right. You tell the story I need told. You help me send a message to the Italians, and maybe you get to live. And if I don't? Bumpy didn't answer. Didn't need to. Willie Jackson's hand tightened on Quick's shoulder. You've got 24 hours to decide if you want redemption or a grave, Bumpy said. Choose wisely. December 5th, 1947. Quick met Tony Castellano at a restaurant in Little Italy. His hands were still shaking, but he told the story exactly as Bumpy instructed. It's done. Bumpy's dead. Shot him in the back of the head last night at the Cotton Club. Looked like a robbery. Police are calling it a random killing. No suspects. Tony studied Quick's face, looking for lies. You're sure he's dead? I watched him bleed out. I checked his pulse. He's gone. Tony smiled, pulled out an envelope. 50,000, as promised. You've earned this, Raymond. Mr. Genovese is going to want to meet you. Celebrate the new partnership. Quick took the money. His stomach turned. When? Tomorrow night. Genovese's social club. Just you, me, and the boss. We'll toast to the future of Harlem. Quick left that meeting knowing he was walking into one of two scenarios. Either Bumpy's plan worked, and the Italians got the message they needed. Or the Italians figured out the lie, and Quick would die in that social club. Either way, his fate was sealed. December 6th, 1947. 9:00 p.m. Vito Genovese's social club in Little Italy. Tony Castellano and Raymond Quick sat at a table with Genovese himself. Three of the most powerful mobsters in New York, celebrating the death of Harlem's king. Genovese raised his glass. To new partnerships. To Harlem. To the future. They drank, and then the door opened. Bumpy Johnson walked in. The room went silent. Genovese's glass stopped halfway to his lips. Tony Castellano's face went white. Quick didn't move, didn't breathe. Bumpy was wearing a dark suit, hat pulled low, that same cold smile on his face. Behind him stood Junie Bird, Willie Jackson, and 10 more men, armed, ready. Bumpy walked slowly to the table, pulled out a chair, sat down across from Vito Genovese. Evening, Vito. Hope I'm not interrupting. Genovese's bodyguards moved to intervene. Bumpy's men raised their weapons. The standoff lasted 5 seconds before Genovese raised his hand. Everyone relax. Mr. Johnson, this is unexpected. We were told you were dead. By him? Bumpy gestured to Quick. Yeah, that was my idea. See, I wanted to know what you'd do if you thought I was gone. Wanted to see if you'd try to take Harlem. Turns out you did. This is a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Vito. You tried to buy my bodyguard. Offered him 50,000 and territory. Thought you could take what's mine by removing me from the equation. Bumpy leaned forward. But here's what you didn't understand. Harlem isn't mine because I'm the toughest. It's mine because my people choose me. And when you tried to buy Quick, you proved you don't understand loyalty. You just understand transactions. Genovese's jaw tightened. What do you want, Johnson? I want you to understand something. Harlem is mine. Not negotiable, not for sale, not available for conquest. You want peace, you respect that boundary. You want war, I promise you'll lose more than it's worth. You're threatening me in my own place? I'm educating you, in yours. Bumpy stood up. Quick, give him back his money. Quick pulled the envelope from his jacket and placed it on the table. $50,000. I don't buy loyalty, Bumpy said. I earn it. And when someone tries to sell it, I make sure everyone knows what betrayal costs. He looked at Quick. He's yours now, Vito, since you paid for him. But know this, he'll betray you too. It's what he does. Bumpy turned to leave, stopped at the door. One more thing. Tony Castellano, the man who orchestrated this whole plan, his driver, Marcus, works for me, has for 4 years. Every conversation you had with Quick, I heard. Every plan you made, I knew. You didn't buy my man. I sold you a trap, and you walked right into it. Tony Castellano looked like he'd been struck. Genovese's face turned dark red. Enjoy your evening, gentlemen, Bumpy said, and walked out. The Italians never made another move on Harlem. Not while Bumpy Johnson was alive. The message had been delivered. You can't buy what you can't break. As for Raymond Quick Lewis, he disappeared 3 days later. Some say the Italians killed him for the failed setup. Others say he ran, took what little money he had left, and started over somewhere far from New York. Bumpy never spoke his name again. In Harlem, Quick became a ghost story, the man who tried to betray a king and learned that some thrones can't be taken, only earned. December 4th, 1947. The night a bodyguard pulled the trigger at point-blank range. The sound that followed wasn't a gunshot. It was a lesson about loyalty, about respect, about understanding that in Harlem, under Bumpy Johnson's rule, betrayal didn't pay. It cost everything. And the Italians, who'd spent decades buying their way into every city in America, learned that Harlem operated by different rules. Rules written by a man who understood that real power isn't purchased. It's earned. One act of loyalty at a time. If this story of loyalty tested and betrayal exposed moved you, subscribe for more untold legends of Harlem's most strategic mind. Drop a like if you understand that trust is the most valuable currency. What would you have done in Quick's position? Let me know in the comments below.